everyone, welcome to my channel, That's Right, I Homeschool. I'm Mrs. T, and today I want to share with you some cheap, easy, low prep activities that you can do with your preschooler and toddler to help support an Apple unit study. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop right into it. So the other day, I don't know why, but I was kind of in the mood to shift from our typical curriculum and do like this mini unit study into apples. I thought that that'd be a really easy one. It was kind of supporting what some of the sounds we were learning in phonics, which was the ah sound. And I kind of just wanted, I just wanted to do something a little different. But I didn't want to spend a lot of money. I didn't want to buy anything. I just wanted to have Apple themed activities that were going to support like what we wanted to learn anyway. So I'm just going to go ahead and share with you guys what we did, a couple of resources. All of it is very cheap, very low prep, and I'm really excited to do it, to share it with you. So the first thing that we did is we read 2 books that were about apples. Now I can't stress enough, there is no reason for you to go out and buy books about apples. You don't have to. Reality is your children aren't going to be picking up books about apples. Now, if you have some at home, great, go ahead and pick them up. If you don't, let me give you a couple suggestions that you can get that are pretty common at libraries. But if you don't even have time to go to a library, I have linked down below a couple of YouTubers who have read this book out loud. So you can actually see them flipping the pages and reading the story, which is great. So it's free. Don't go buy things. There's no reason to unless you already have it. So the first book that we got from our library was from the Hello World series. This is a board book, which was perfect for both my toddler and my preschooler, and it's called How Do Apples Grow? That one was so good, you guys. We really enjoyed that one. It's very informative, but not too long or too much information jam-packed because it is a board book. So that was a really good one. We also have The Seasons of Arnold's Apple Tree by Gail Gibbons already at home. We bought that recently through a book outlet haul. Again, you don't have to buy that particular one, but that was also a really good book to have. Now, if your library doesn't have either of those books, another common one, also by Gail Gibbons, is just called Apples. That one's really good. We watched that, a reading of that one online. And then there is, in the Let's Read and Find Out Science series, they have a stage 2 book, which does mean it has more information, called How Do Apples Grow? And that is another one that you could definitely take. But that one does have a lot of information. So if you're trying to keep your toddler's attention, that might not be the book for you. But check the description below. I'll go ahead and link, again, free readings of these books. So you don't have to even take the time to leave your living room. You can just go ahead and have your kids watch those books. Okay, let's talk about some activities. So sign language. Sign language is something that we do here, so I really wanted to focus on ASL vocabulary that was tied to this theme. So for us, we told the story of planting the seeds in the soil and having it grow. Now, if you don't know any sign language, that's okay, because again, there are a lot of resources online. I will link in the description down below. There are a couple of videos, one where they actually talk about the planting process. It's not specific to apples, but the planting process. So you and your child can learn the signs together through that, as well as Talkbox Mom also has a number of videos with like planting terminology. Again, I'll link them down below, but that'll be a really fun way for you and your child to learn together some ASL signs. Now, involve your child. Don't just have them look at the signs, involve and make it fun, exaggerate it so they help remember the terms. So for example, when you're talking about the tree growing, have your child's tree grow really high and get them really see how high their tree can go, and it can focus on the sign for tree as well. Flower, when you're signing about the flowers, make sure they're sniffing their flowers and pretending, and they describe like imagine what the apple blossom might smell like. So that is just a couple of ways that you can, practice telling a little bit about the process of how apples grow, having it stick while also covering some really good ASL vocabulary. If you're learning another language at home, this is also a really good time when you're learning things like fleur, right? You can talk about flower as you're doing the ASL sign as well, because that movement is going to help drill any new vocabulary that your child might be learning in a second language. Okay, so what we ended up doing is we had a lot of activities that involved real apples. So I just involved my kids. We went to the store. We picked out 3 different apples of 3 different colors. We had green, red, and like a golden pinkish one. And what I did is we did a number of activities. So first, I had them sit with me and in the kitchen, and I showed them this is a whole apple. I cut it directly in half through the core. We now have halves. You cut that half again, you have quarters, and so on and so forth. So very basic fractions. We also pulled out the seeds inside the apple. We did some seed countings. We found which apple had the most seeds. And then we kind of sorted them into little piles as well, which was fun. What else did we do? Oh, so with the apples, once we had cut them in half, I kind of basically took like the actual core part. I then cut a little bit more at the end of our fractions and I cut those so that way we had a little piece of the core so we can do some apple printing. So here is, this one was my my toddlers and my preschoolers. We took paint that of apple colors and we just had them put the apples in the paint, put it on the paper, and we made our own little apple prints, which were really fun. We really, really liked that activity. And that one was messy, just be forewarned, it's messy, but it was easy. It was easy and it kept them distracted while I was continuing to cut up, because after they were all cut up, we did an apple tasting party. So we tasted the 3 different apples, we described the different tastes, we smelled them. Could you tell a difference in the smell? How are they similar? How are they different? And that one was really fun. Which one is crunchier? Which one is softer? Which one is sweeter? Which is tartar? And so forth. And they both picked their favorite. Toddler actually really liked the tart apple the best, the green one, and my preschooler really loved the sweet apple. So they swapped. We only tasted a couple of those because what we then did is we had them put them into a little pan, cover it with water, a little pot, dash in some cinnamon, and we made some homemade applesauce, which is really easy, you guys. And the combination of the different apples was really fun. And the applesauce we ended up eating, it takes like 30-ish minutes, depending on 30 minutes-ish, depending on how much apple you have. And anyway, so it wasn't too bad. We waited for it to cool and we ended up having it that night with dinner with Dad after we had tasted it. So that was really enjoyable. Okay, Play-Doh. My kids love Play-Doh. So something else that we did is we didn't have red Play-Doh. Don't go out and buy Play-Doh. You don't have to do that. But something that we did do is we took some of the Play-Doh that we had and we made them into little balls. And then my children sold apples to me and we kind of went back and forth. So if you happen to have play money, this is a really good activity to do with really basic counting. I do have play money at home, so we pulled out our pennies. You can always use real pennies if you happen to have them. And if you don't, you guys, that's okay too. You can always just draw and cut out some circles on brown paper and call them your pennies. And we did like, oh, an apple for 3 pennies. Oh, but my toddler says that he'll give me an apple for 2 pennies and 2 is less. What are you gonna do about that? And so we were able to play, and that was really fun. And to get to the point where my preschooler was like, I'll give you 1 apple into half of another one for 7 pennies. I was like, well, I can't pass up that opportunity. So we did some very basic like farmers market sales, and that was a fun little one. One of the things that we did, so this unit was, we did across 2 days because we waited for some paint to dry. But the first day we made handprint trees. This is just, I just made the little bark and the branches, or the trunk and the branches, and then we just took some green paint and used their hand to make the trees. The following day, we took pom-poms. We had green and red ones. We put them on different ones. They took tweezers and they went apple picking. If you don't have pom-poms handy. First of all, this is definitely a good resource. We use them all the time at home. But if you don't, cotton balls are perfect. You guys could even paint the cotton balls the different apple colors and practice some color practice. You can also do like dried beans. There are a bunch of different things that you could do to practice with tweezers. We have kid tweezers. You can also use the tweezers you happen to have in your bathroom if you don't mind them touching them with your hands. But it was just some good fine motor practice. So we are working on our phonics with our preschoolers. So we did work on apple, so the A sound. Something you could do, which we did not do, is you could do some free printables online. There are a lot of options. If you search for preschool Apple printables, they have a lot of things like tracing letters, tracing or doing basic Apple counting math, that kind of thing. But what we did instead is we just got a dry erase board and we just did practice writing our letter A, which was easy peasy. Now, Toddlers working on colors, so we did work on color sorting for apples, and that was kind of more of those pom-poms that I was telling you about, but also just identifying and talking about the color of the apples as we were cutting them and when we were in the kitchen as well. Okay, one of the things that I actually thought went really, really well is we have this reference book that I bought not too long ago. Now, if you don't have a kid's encyclopedia, that's okay. Libraries often do, but I do recommend practicing with your preschooler utilizing reference books. So what we did in here is we went to the fruits and seeds page, and we learned a little bit about fruits and seeds through here. Now, what I love about this particular reference book is they have basically like a related topics section. I'll put a picture of it here on the screen so you can see. And then I let him go what I call the rabbit hole reference, where he picks a topic that's in there, we go and we learn about that topic, and then he picks one more and we go to that other topic. So in this case, he chose to go to weather, and then from the weather, I think we did, let me see if I get over there, and then remind myself what we did. Clouds, we went to clouds. And then that actually ended up working really well. That crossed over with what we were learning in Blossom and Root, and we went cloud watching. So we went down this whole rabbit hole of fun stuff that all started because we were learning a little bit about fruit and seeds. Okay. Additional fun things that you can do and that we did is we watched on YouTube, I'll link it down below, a time-lapse video of apples actually growing on a tree. So that was really neat. You can actually see it in action, which was really cool. And it's not very long, the video that we found. My kids loved it. We watched it a couple of times, and that was very informative actually, and very fun. If you wanted to, based on the time of the year, it wasn't the time to go to like an apple orchard. And I don't even know where the closest is. So if you happen to have an orchard of some sort near yours, you can always pay a visit to it. We did end up going to a local nursery. They didn't have any apple trees left in stock, but they did have a couple of their fruit trees. So we looked at some of the fruit trees and we talked about how nurseries take care of little baby trees who are looking for homes. But you can always go and see actual real live trees, walk through your neighborhood and just look at fruiting trees. If you live in an area that happens to have something like that, or like just Googling as well, some good old pictures of apple trees. Well, that is it, you guys. We had so much fun with this little mini unit study of apples. We got dirty, we got to taste a lot of apples, they got some good kitchen practice, and it was just really enjoyable. It was very low cost. The only thing that I had to purchase for this were the apples. Everything else were things that I had at home. Well, that is it. I hope you guys are able to take some of these ideas and use them. If there are any small little units that you would want this kind of style of breakdown where I give different just activity ideas that are cheap and low prep, comment down below and I'll be happy to look into those for you. All right, you guys, you have a wonderful day. Before you go, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and I will talk to you guys very soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye.